What do you see the future holding, and how has COVID impacted the trajectory of that future?
Well, for a lot of linear channels, live television is what really drives them. So we're seeing more and more the ability to do live television in the cloud and through remote production. When sports comes back, that's really going to transform that, especially. So I do think that's going to be a big change. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road we see somebody like Amazon Prime Video end up bidding on Olympics or something, because, with their much higher PDE ratio, their cost of acquiring some of that content is going to be very competitive against the traditional companies that they're fighting. So I think we're going to see some really interesting changes. The other thing I think is interesting is that we're now building systems where we're much more aware of who's watching what, when, and how. And and we'll see more interactive content where people, what the viewer responses are or engagement, will be able to actually use those metrics and interaction to actually change the content while we're producing it. I think we haven't really seen that really take off yet. But gamers are used to being involved directly in what the content looks like on screen, and television's been primarily passive. And I think we're going to start seeing a middle ground emerge where the viewers are actually going to affect the content as it's being delivered. And I don't know what that looks like yet. Somebody's far more creative than I is going to come up with that, but that's now capable.
People are going to be used to consuming content from lots of different sources the way that they were before, and the way that the pandemic has accelerated that. And I think that the biggest opportunity right now, and the most important priority for lots of companies, is to bear in mind that what consumers really need the most is simplicity. So their TV as a product has never been more compelling, which is really good because it's facing a lot of competition from things like video games, for example. But people do the biggest frustration, if you can call it a frustration, it's a first world problem. The biggest frustration they have is managing all of these different options and making it simple to find the next thing they're going to watch, and making it simple to ideally access lots of these different platforms without having to change their remote control or without having to manage lots of different passwords. And if that problem is solved, consumers are happier, they watch more, they consume more, and the brands get bigger audiences, and the best content wins its way to the top. So I think that's going to be the biggest competition, for people's eyeballs and people's time in the future, is who can kind of deliver the simplest experience and make it so their content can be found that way too.